Hi there, back again today to show you the last stage of making the clay robin. I'll just show you two here that I painted already. One bending down to eat and the other one sitting upright. You can see the shape of the red breast, how it makes a kind of an upside down heart shape. Brown over the head and brown over the wings and the tail, and just a little bit of white here going up towards the eye. You can see the small brush strokes I've used. Now I'm going to show you how to do the robin, but you could equally use this kind of shape for doing a blue tit or a wren, a coal tit or any other small garden bird, so you'd need to research the colours for other birds. The colours for the robin, you need kind of a rusty brown and a darker brown, white, and this is yellow ochre, a bright red and maybe a slightly deeper red, and black, and that's all you need. So make sure you have a selection of brushes. You probably need something a slightly thicker brush, one of these two, and you'll also need a very fine brush as well for doing details like around the eyes and things like that. Those ones I just put there for extra. And yeah, so this is acrylic paint. You also need water. I find it good, I think as I've said this before, when you're painting this clay to use the paint in quite a runny way, so plenty of water at least to begin with. When you come to doing the details you don't need so much, but certainly for the beginning part of it. So I'm going to start with the brown. It comes over the head and onto the wings. You can see it's almost like I'm staining the clay rather than painting on top of it. I think that's a nice way to use acrylics on this kind of clay. So it's rather than sort of painting on top of it, you're more staining the colour into it. Make sure you go underneath as well when it comes to the tail and the little stand as well. Now I'm using the darker brown here, again runny, and I'm putting a darker shade into the places where shadow would be. So underneath the wings, and a few little darker brown strokes around the head, just to give it a little bit of interest and depth. And then if you see here, it gets darker brown here as it comes around the tip, and then moves into more, not necessarily pure black for the beak. Try putting a little bit of black into the darker brown so you don't get a solid colour. I think that's a nice way to approach it, because whilst you do get black in nature, it's generally a soft black, not a hard black. Once again, coming to the wings, you can see how I've added some darker brown strokes. Keep your strokes nice and light. Keep the paint moving. It's always a good thing when you're painting things that are natural. You want to keep the paint soft. Just working down underneath the wings here. They can be a little bit darker as well underneath, just to give depth. So we put the darker shades. Now we might put a slightly lighter colour. So I'm using a little bit of the yellow ochre mixed in with more of the rusty brown, and I'm just doing, I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of a highlight on the top of the head, and I'm going to do the same thing on the wings. Just a few strokes just to give a sense of highlight and also life to it. Nothing is really ever one colour, and no bird, no animal with feathers or fur is ever going to be one single colour. There'll always be light shining on it. Now I'm going to move now to the white. You can see the white comes around the eye and then moves down underneath to the bottom of the belly. So I'm going to move to the white. Once again, lots of water, and keep the strokes light. And as I showed you before, the robin has a kind of an upside down heart shape on its breast. Try and use the brush, like I said before, in small strokes so that you're blending the colours together. Think about how feathers are, and they're small light strokes. And now I'm going to do the red. So I've got two reds here, a lovely bright red. That's the main one I'm going to use. I might just use the darker red for a little bit of texture and depth. Remembering still about the using your brush to make feather strokes. Blend it carefully towards the white. Doesn't matter if you pick up a little bit of the white as well. When you go for the darker shade, think about putting it into the places where there would be more shadow, and just underneath where the head is. Gives it a little bit more shape as well. And use your little brush to go to the little brush now. Put in some very fine feathers. You could also use a little bit of brown. Come back to the darker brown over the head. Okay, we're getting there. I'm just going to finish up by doing the base here. That's slightly different to the base I had there. Okay. Now for the eye. The eye we made as holes. There's different ways of doing eyes. You could have put a little circle of clay into this hole, but I actually find that just the hole works quite well. So I'm just taking the smallest brush, putting black into the hole, painting inside the hole. Okay, do a little bit more black there. Whoops. You can always use your fingers to blend things if you need to. Now we're getting there. So if you've done your first coat, if there's any way that you want to kind of bring up any of the colours, use your little brush to add a few more small strokes. Keep the brush strokes nice and light. Also going to, I don't know if you can see this, I put a very light kind of whitey brown rim around the eye just to help it stand out a little bit more. I'll show you how I do that. Might take a couple of goes, but just dash the brush around the rim of the eye. Doesn't even have to be a complete circle, but it helps the eye to stand out a little bit more. And you could even try putting, if you wished, a small little dot on one corner, which will help to bring a bit of light and life to the eye. Now, I think we're nearly there. Just make sure there's not any little bits that need to be evened out. Be careful not to overpaint as well, you know. Trust yourself that when you've got the effect that you want, that enough is enough, rather than adding more and more and more. A tiny bit more red here, I think, on the breast. This is a robin, and after all, they do have lovely red breasts. You can see how when I'm coming towards the white, I'm just stroking the red onto the colour, onto the white, so that it blends nicely with what we've already got. Okay, I think that's enough. Maybe I'm just going to do a small little bit of dark here, just to kind of complete it. Perfect. Okay, so there is your little robin. As I said, you could do any number of small birds in the same way. Blue tits would be beautiful as well. I might do one and put it up just to show you. Okay, enjoy making them.